guys, welcome to CrushCarb, where we crush carbs, not flavors. Everyone has a sweet tooth, and let's be honest, who doesn't love chocolate chip cookies? Whether they're store-bought or fresh from a bakery, they're loaded with sugar and made with all-purpose flour, which isn't exactly low-carb friendly. Not only the cookies themselves have sugar, but even the chocolate chips are usually packed with it. So today, I'm sharing with you all my all-time favorite low-carb chocolate chip cookie recipe, the one I came up with when I switched to a low-carb lifestyle. These cookies are a staple in my CrushCarb kitchen. They're quick, easy, and even the kids that visit my house ask for more. So let's get started. So to start off, I have here half a cup of butter. So those of you that know me, you know that I do not use real butter. So what I'm using here is plant-based butter, which is oil-based, and I really like that for two reasons. One is because it makes the cookie softer, but also it is lesser amount of fat compared to real butter. So I always like to use this version. Into this, I'm going to be adding 2/3 cup of powdered allulose sweetener. So I like to use the allulose sweetener in replacement of sugar for anything that I'm baking with. And you want to make sure you use the powdered version because it's going to blend in really well with the butter. Also, I do want to mention I am using the Dura Life brand for allulose. You can find this on Amazon. So I'm going to be adding 2/3 cup of allulose sweetener to the butter. So what we're going to be doing now is you want to beat the butter with the sweetener until it is nice and fluffy. So a really important tip for whenever you're beating butter with sweetener or whatever you're beating, right? You always want to start off at a low speed. Otherwise, it can splash on you. So just be careful on that. So just want to show you guys. So I did this on a low speed. You just want to do it on a low speed just to get the butter and the sweetener incorporated. And then you want to increase the speed to get it nice and fluffy. Also, another point I do want to mention is that make sure your butter is softened. If you're using plant-based butter, you can take it out of the fridge and it'll already be soft because it's oil-based. But if you're using real butter, you will have to soften it. So you will have to have it at room temperature before you use it. So now I'm just going to increase the speed and get it nice and fluffy. All right. So this is what you're looking for. Look how nice and fluffy that is. Okay, so to this, we're now going to be adding 1 large egg. And next, we're going to be adding 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Really crucial because you really want to pull out that nice vanilla flavor in your cookies. And all we have to do now is beat this again until everything is nicely incorporated. Again, do it at a low speed first and then increase the speed. So this is what it looks like after you have beaten your eggs and the vanilla extract. So like I said, I first beat it at low speed until everything is incorporated, and then I increase the speed to get it nice and fluffy, just like this. So I'm going to put this to the side now, and we're going to now work on our dry ingredients. So I have your 2 cups of almond flour. These are low-carb cookies, so I alwax love to use almond flour as my low-carb option in replacement of all-purpose flour. So to this, I'm going to first be adding 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum. So I want to tell you about xanthan gum and why you should use it in baking. Xanthan gum helps give a chewy texture to whatever you're baking. So I like chocolate chip cookies to be chewy, and so that's why I'm going to be adding xanthan gum. So the other thing about xanthan gum is that you don't just dump it into your mixture or your batter. You always want to make sure that you sprinkle it in so it gets nicely incorporated. And lastly, I'm going to be adding baking soda. So I have your 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I like to use baking soda when making cookies because it helps make them a lot more chewy, and that's what I really want. I want to have that chewy texture, so I like to use baking soda instead. Add that in there. And so next we're going to be adding 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. It helps to balance out that sweetening, so you always need to have sea salt in whatever you're baking. And so now all you have to do is just whisk up all your dry ingredients. All right. I got all my dry ingredients mixed together. And so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to grab our wet ingredients we have here that we have beaten up before, and we're going to be adding our dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. Just grab my rubber spatula and just grab the remaining. All right. And now we're just going to mix this together until you get a dough to form. All right, so this is what it looks like. That's everything all incorporated. And so last ingredient we have to add is chocolate chips, because you cannot have chocolate chip cookies without chocolate chips. So I have here 1/2 cup of sugar-free chocolate chips. These are stevia sweetened. You can grab whatever chocolate chips that you can find in the grocery store that are sugar-free. So I'm just going to dump those in here. And you just want to fold in the chocolate chips now. All right, so our dough is ready now for our chocolate chip cookies. So I have here a baking pan that's lined up with a parchment paper. Doesn't matter what size you use, just want to make sure it's large enough to hold about 12 cookies that we're making here. So what we're going to be doing is I have a cookie scoop. This is about 1.5 inches, and I'm going to be scooping out the dough and putting it on our parchment paper that's lined up here on our baking pan. Just like that. And throw it on our baking pan. And our last one right there. All right, so I have here 12 cookies. It depends on the size of the cookies you want to make too. You can make mini cookies if you want to make mini cookies. Totally up to you. So now what you want to do before you put these in the oven is you just want to flatten it out slightly with your hands. Just like that. And I'm going to do that to the remaining cookies. And that was the last one. So just lightly flatten them out. They're going to flatten out more while they bake. So I had the oven preheated at 350 degrees, and we're going to bake these for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're nicely golden brown. So I had a 10-minute timer set up for my cookies, and my timer is up. I usually bake it for 10 minutes, but I say 10 to 12 because it depends on your oven if you need to bake it for a little more. My cookies are done, and they are nice and golden brown. Oh my goodness, take a look at this. Look at that. They look super delicious. They look chewy. I do want to mention that they are going to be very soft when you take them out of the oven. So you want to let it sit for a few minutes to let it cool down, and they will firm up. And my cookies are ready. Look how delicious they look. These have cooled down, they're firm. I do want to share a secret tip with you all. So if you are in a hurry to get your cookies to cool down faster and firm up, the trick is to put it in the refrigerator for at least 10 to 15 minutes and your cookies will firm up. And the reason why I'm mentioning is that because if you let it sit at room temperature on the counter, it will take at least 45 minutes. And that's just because of how almond flour is, right? It takes a while for it to firm up. So the quicker way is to put it in the refrigerator for at least 10 to 15 minutes, and that's exactly what I did here. I don't have the patience to wait 45 minutes. I love these cookies. I want to eat them ASAP. So now let's taste. Wow. These are so soft. You will not be able to tell, but these are really soft. Like you would think putting in the refrigerator will make them hard, but no. These are really soft because we worked with plant-based butter, which is comprised of oil. I like the plant-based butter because you get the butter flavor as well, and it's really just a combination of oils, right? If you use oil instead of butter, your cookies will be soft, and they're so delicious while soft. Now, I'll show you, look at that. Wow. Look at that. It looks so delicious. Mmm. These are chewy. And that's because we added xanthan gum and we added baking soda. Wow. You cannot tell the difference between these cookies and regular all-purpose flour sugar-based cookies. You get the same flavor. As always, I'm loving it. If you enjoyed this recipe, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to CrushCarb. Try this out and let me know in the comments below how you liked it. So until next time, let's keep cooking, experimenting, and as always, let's keep crushing carbs.